After we washed our hands without saying a blessing, we eat the karpas. The karpas were the leafy vegetables or the boiled potatoes, and we dip them into salt water. So the leafy vegetables are meant to be an appetizer. This is the way fancy people eat, like aristocrats. And the reason we dip them into salt water is to remind us about the tears that the slaves felt and cried when they were in Egypt. Like with everything else, we say a blessing before eating of the karpas. The blessing is the regular blessing that we say on any food that comes from the ground. It goes, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'adamah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who created the fruit from the ground. And then we eat the karpas after having dunked it in salt water. Next we do yachatz. So, we stack 3 whole pieces of matzah that symbolize the Jewish people. Often we say that the top matzah is for a Kohen, the middle matzah is for a Levi, and the third matzah is for the Yisrael, the general people. We take the middle matzah, we break it in half. We take half of it and we put it away for the afikomen. You guys remember the afikomen? Nah, don't worry about the afikomen. No big deal, honestly. Nothing to do about the afikomen. Forget about the afikomen. There is no afikomen. We take this other piece and we put it back in with the 2 other pieces, and this is the bread that's a remembrance of poor people. If you're poor, you often don't have a whole loaf of bread to eat. You just eat what you can. And so this is called lechem oni. This is the bread of affliction, because as slaves, we didn't have time for the bread to rise, and as poor people, we often don't have a whole loaf of bread to eat. Next comes the maggid. The maggid is reading all the stuff that's in the Haggadah. It's all about the slavery that we had when we were in Egypt. And it starts off, Ho lachma anya. This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in Egypt. Let anyone who is hungry come and eat. In the Middle Ages, the Jewish communities did not mix with the other communities in Europe too much. They were not allowed to own land, and the Christians very much hated the Jews very often. Not always, and sometimes they got along well, but sometimes they did not. What the Jews did is that they had a tax that they taxed themselves. Every Jewish community, every person in the Jewish community, had to give 10% of his money to the community in order to feed poor people or homeless people. So when it says that if anyone who is hungry come and eat, that really was true. We supplied food for anybody who was hungry or who was homeless. Let anybody who is in need come and celebrate Passover with us. That's exactly what we did in the European communities. Anybody who came and didn't have some place to stay, they came to a family and had the Seder with them. This year we are here. Next year, may we all be in the land of Israel. This year we are not masters of our own fate, but next year maybe we'll be free.